Today is the 9th of November 2023, and this will be our fourth video on transformation, and now going to discuss rotation. Okay, thank you very much to everyone who has been watching our videos. Okay, please, if you haven't already, can you consider subscribing and following and sharing and liking our videos? Okay, there's a probability that there's someone out there who is also consider receiving or about to do their exams next year, or even considering whether they want to go back into education. Okay, it will help them. And with that, please, if the account is not yours, can you ask for permission before you do that, subscribe or follow from the account holder? I normally write, please follow my notes /scripts in the comment section. Okay, I have to say this over and over again because assuming this is your first time watching a video, okay, this is muscle, like this is 0262. Okay, so if you hear 026 degrees, please go by the script. Okay, it's very important. And like this is a bearing starter, so your answer should be in 3 figures. We've done videos on bearing. Okay, so you should, this is how you write it. But if you don't follow it, you go and do an exam and write 62. Okay, and then you end up being marked down, and then you said that, oh, I heard it from here, but actually you were not following the notes. Watch, beware of scammers, please. Okay, they are all over the place. Even at times I have to look at things critically before I say something. Okay, so if it's not in the video, it's not coming from me, please don't fall for it. Okay, don't fall for those people asking for donations, especially if it has to do with money. Okay, then it's not us, because that is what they want basically, so don't fall for it. Recap: last lesson we did reflection. We look at reflection, and then we did an example on graph paper. Okay, watch last lesson for recap, because today we have a lot to do. Okay, so please go back and watch last lesson. It will help you a lot. Our starter today is a recap on bearings. In our last bearing video, I said the example I brought, even though it made sense, it was a bit cluttered. So I think for some students it might be a bit overwhelming. So I said I will use some of the starters and come back and then do it bit by bit. But your best thing is to start watching the introduction videos, okay, and it will help you a lot. So go back if you don't understand bearing, watch the videos, take your time, watch them again. If you have any question on bearing, answer them. If you don't understand, go back to the examples I gave. Watch how I solve them and help yourself, okay? Guess keep on watch solve equations till you know that if that question come in an exam, I'll be able to do justice to it. Then you know that you understand. Okay, so what is the bearing of S from T? So we have this diagram here. Okay, the bearing of S from T. We have to measure clockwise. Okay, our answer should be in 3 figures. And we have to measure from the north. So these are 2 parallel lines. You remember we even used the C angles here that we learned some time ago. Okay, so these are 2 parallel lines. If this is 62, then this is 118. Then all this side will be 242 because the angle at the point is 360. Okay, now what is the bearing of S from T? So your reference is from T, so you're not from T, you move 242, travel all the way down from this line to S. So your bearing of S from T will be 242. Again, what is the bearing of T from S? Okay, so from S again, that is your north. Okay, remember our bearing should be in 3 figures, not in 2. So I'm going to add the zeros here. Okay, so from S, okay, you move 160. Okay, you move 062. Okay, this is where you should follow my notes. From north 262, then your line goes straight to T. So that will be your bearing. So your bearing from S to T, from of T from S will be 062 degrees. Okay, so again, you measure clockwise, your answer should be in 3 figures, and you measure from the north. Okay, don't forget that. Today we want to look at rotation. Okay, here a shape is turned about a fixed point. Okay, the fixed point is your center of rotation. For a rotation to occur, okay, I'm talking you through it, and I'll do an example with you. Hopefully we should have the time. For a rotation to occur, you must consider the direction of rotation. So unlike bearing, where you only consider the clockwise, with rotation you have to look at the question. You can be asked to rotate clockwise or anti-clockwise. Okay, now the angle of rotation is important, so you might be asked to rotate at 45 degrees or 90 degrees or 180 degrees, or 270 degrees. Okay, all these are angles. You need a center of rotation, so it will be given to you as a coordinate. The common one they give you is the origin on your graph, which is 0, 0. But assuming they gave you 2, 1 or 5, 7, and they ask you to plot an object, you should be able to measure 90 degrees from there, and then use that to use a tracing paper or whatever you've been asked to do that. Okay, it's easy to do. I'll show you today. Okay, now method of rotation using a tracing paper. Okay, yesterday I did reflection with you, and you can also use tracing paper in your reflection exercise. Okay, if you've not been given a mirror line. Okay, but with rotation today I'm going to use a tracing paper with you. Unfortunately, I thought I had a tracing paper and I couldn't find one, so I'm going to use a plate paper with you, and I'll just show you, so that if you show you how I did it. So if you have like a tracing paper, try it, because a tracing paper is a more see-through paper than a plain white paper, a plain A4 paper. Okay, so first you plot the object with the coordinates you've been given, and then you consider the center of rotation. Okay, so the normal one, the common one they might give you is the origin on your graph, or they might just give you any point. If it's not a graph, they might just bring a diagram and ask you to use a center of rotation and rotate, okay, at maybe an angle of 40 degrees or 45 degrees or 90 degrees. So first of all, you mark this point, the origin, and join it to one of the shape's corner. Okay, I will normally draw it the coordinates closer to the center of origin. Then you measure the angle of rotation using a protractor. Okay, place the tracing paper over the shape. So if you place a tracing paper of the shape, and assuming the shape has 4 coordinates, you are going to mark those 4 coordinates on your tracing paper. Okay, you place the tracing paper over the shape and your center of rotation and trace it out, or mark the corners of the shape with a pencil. At the point of rotation, rotate the tracing paper clockwise or anti-clockwise, depending on what they tell you. So they might ask you to rotate it clockwise or anti-clockwise to the new position on the graph. If you are asked to rotate at 270 degrees, it's safer to do 90 degrees 3 times. So assuming you've been asked to do 270 degrees, okay, instead of measuring 270 degrees and get it wrong, okay, it's just spending an extra a minute or two. Okay, so you can do 90, 90, 90. Okay, so you can, on your graph, you can plot 90 degrees, 90 degrees, 90 degrees, so that when you move the tracing paper, you will get exact 240. Because if you 270, because if you do 270 all the way and you didn't measure it right, then you've got the wrong coordinates and you've done your rotation wrong. Okay, these are just things I see I've learned along the line, so I'm just sharing that with you. Example. So we are going to look at an example now. Okay, so now plot the points A 2 1, B 2 3, C 3 3, and D 3 2. What did I say to you in our last two videos? It's better, this kind of question, it's better to read a couple of lines and start. Especially if you are sure of your axis, and for instance, if you look at the coordinates you've been given, okay, you can do up to 5 units on the y-axis and 5 units on the x, and maybe in the negative as well. Okay, so you don't need to read the whole question before you answer. Okay, so you can start. If you get the scale right, you will get everything right, because if you do it systematically, you should be right. But if you do it and then you get the object wrong for one, then every other thing will go wrong, because it's like dominoes. Okay, or it's like a building block. You put one block wrong, everything goes wrong. So plot the points A, B, C, D. So we are going to start and plot the points. So here again, I put a date on my graph paper so that in case I'm referring to my note, I know that, oh, I did this video on this day, and this is the graph that I did alongside with my notes. Okay, and then on my title is a graph of rotation. Okay, now they said we should plot the points A, okay, there, 2 1. So look at my axis again. 1 2 3 4 5 up to 6, and then I repeat that on the negative as well for the x-axis. On the y, I went up to 8, and then -8 in case I'm supposed to do maybe a translation, because they will not just ask you to do a rotation, so they might ask you to do a rotation and maybe a translation and maybe a reflection. So if I'm supposed to translate this on the line y = 5, my image will be somewhere here. Okay, but today, because we are only learning about rotation, we will stick to rotation. So A is 2 1, so 2 1, so I label A. B is 2 3, so 2 3, I label B. C is 3 3, so 3 3, and then I label C. D is this point here, 3 2, so I label D 3 2. So this is the object I've been given. So they said I should plot this to create an object. I've done that. So I've done the first part with the center of rotation as 0, 0. So this will be my center of rotation. Okay, assuming my center of rotation is not here and is there, 1, 1, then I will draw my line there and measure whatever angle I'm supposed to do. But my center of rotation here is 0, 0. So with the center of rotation as 0, 0, rotate the object that I have just plotted at 90 degrees clockwise. Now, if you see the analog clocks, okay, clockwise is how the normal clock goes. So clockwise, if you look on my graph, will be in that direction this way. Okay, like a normal clock on the wall. Okay, anti-clockwise will be the opposite of clockwise. Okay, so they said we should plot it clockwise, okay, at 90 degrees and list the new coordinates as A1, B1, C1, and D1. Now, rotation. Okay, so there is formulas for rotation you can use, but here, assuming they ask us to use the tracing paper, so you are going to draw a line. This is one of the corners, so you draw a line from A to the origin, which is your center of rotation. Okay, and then you use your protractor, okay, and measure 90 degrees. So here, this is my protractor. I measured 90 degrees from the origin, from this line here. Okay, and when I did that, my 90 degrees, as you can see the mark here, there, so I connected the origin and drew a line, extended it a bit. Now, what are you going to do? Assuming you had a tracing paper, today I had to improvise. Okay, you put the tracing paper, okay, on there, connect it to the origin, okay, and then you see the reflection, okay, as you can see here. Okay, you can see it a bit. I can see in the video. Okay, so if you put it on there, you get the apex. So you are going to use your pencil. That is the first point here. So this is your origin. So you hold it like that and rotate. Okay, if you hold it there like that, you rotate your tracing paper gently this way. So as you are rotating, you rotate it so you can see your 90 degrees line, this line here, through the tracing paper. When you see this line, this point here will fall on this point. Okay, this point here will fall on this point. That point B will fall on that point. So after you've rotated and this thing, then you would mark it, and that point here, C will fall here, there, and D will fall there. So with the help of the tracing paper, you know this, you are going to mark this point A1, B1, C1, and D1. So you mark it, and then you write the coordinates out. You write it first on your graph paper in pencil, and then you list them on your paper. So when I did that, okay, unfortunately, this is like A4 paper, you can see through. But if I find a tracing paper, I'll come and show you with the starter portion of our work. Okay, so if you rotate with the after drawing the 90 degrees, you put your pen there, you mark this point, extend this line a bit, and then you rotate. Okay, so now your A2 becomes 1 minus 2. So A1, sorry, 1 minus 2. B1 becomes 3 minus 2. So B1 becomes 3 minus 2. Make sure you list them correctly. Okay, don't get it right on the graph and get it wrong when listing. You don't want to be losing marks. Okay, C1 is 3 minus 3. So 3 minus 3. D1 is 2 minus 3. So 2 minus 3. Okay, so now you've rotated it clockwise. So you've moved this image at 90 degrees there clockwise. It's like you are 3 o'clock and now you are 3:15. Okay, so that's what you've done now, and you've drawn the new image. You've got your new point. Then with this image, you are going to rotate it again clockwise at 90 degrees. So you bring your protractor out again with this line as your reference. You draw a 90 degrees, and the 90 degrees line will go through there. You use your tracing paper, put it here, mark these points, and then with your pen or pencil there, I would advise a pencil because you're working on a graph, rotate the tracing paper, and then your new point will reflect here, will rotate, and this will be your new points. Okay, if you don't use your protractor, you wouldn't even know whether it's 90 degrees. So you need a protractor to do this, and you need a good ruler to give you straight lines. So now your new point becomes A2 there, minus 2 minus 1, we list them. B2 minus 2 minus 3, you put them there. C2 minus 3 minus 2. Minus 3 minus 3, you list them there. D2 there, minus 3 minus 2, you list them. And then with A2, B2, C2, D2, rotate it clockwise again 90 degrees to form your new image A3, B3, C3, D3. So now you use this line as your reference. Okay, this is your center of origin, 90 degrees from here, because this is now your new object. Use your protractor, 90 degrees, extend the line, put your tracing paper, mark these points as references, move it till you get to this 90 degrees line, and then transfer your point onto your graph. Okay, now your new coordinates, A3, will become -1, -2. B3 will become -3, -2. So -3, 2. A1 is -1, 2. B3 is -3, 2. C3 is -3. Three. So that will be C3 -3, 3, -3, 3. D3 is -2, 3. So that will be 3, D3. So we've listed our points. So here we have an object. We've moved it clockwise, no, clockwise, 90 degrees. Okay, clockwise again, 90 degrees, clockwise again, 90 degrees. So they could just ask us to move this object 270 degrees clockwise. So that'll be from here to there. Okay, they could also ask us to move this object clockwise 180 degrees. So that'll be from here to there. They could ask us to move this object anti-clockwise 90 degrees. So that'll be from here to there. So because we are going the other direction. They could ask us to move this object anti-clockwise 270 degrees. So that'll be 90, 180, 270. So this will be our new object. So you have to read the question properly and know what you've been asked to do. Okay, so this is the rotation, how you do the rotation through tracing paper. Okay, but we also have mathematical formulas if you don't have tracing paper. Okay, when we were at school, we were encouraged to learn them, so that assuming you didn't have tracing paper, you can do it. Okay, you were not given the formulas. Okay, so now assuming you are moving an object clockwise, tomorrow I'm going to use the standard to explain this, okay, because of our time today. So with clockwise, assuming you have the point x and y, I'm writing it in the vector form. Okay, x becomes your y when you get the new image but negative, and y becomes your s. So if you have 1, 1, okay, you get the image at 1 minus 1. Okay, I will explain it tomorrow because of time. Okay, clockwise 180 degrees xy. So you have minus x minus y. Okay, so xy is 1, 1. Your new image will be at -1, -1. Clockwise again, and 270. um xy. Now you have a new image minus y x. So your x y here is 1. So you have minus 1. Your x becomes your y. Anti-clockwise, okay, 90 degrees. Xy becomes minus y x. So x here is 1. So minus y for x will be 1. And 1 will become x become y. Now anti-clockwise, as we saw in the diagram, so anti-clockwise for this object is this one. Clockwise at 180 degrees for this same object is this one. So anti-clockwise 180 is the same as clockwise. Okay. Now anti-clockwise 270 is xy. So your x value for the image becomes your y, and then your y value for the image is the negative of your x. So assuming you have 1 1 again, okay, your x value becomes negative 1 and your y value is 1. So I'm going to use the starter to explain this with you tomorrow. Okay, go through the formulas with you, and hopefully you should update. I'll give you time to update your flashcard. Okay, you might not need it, but if you need it and you got it wrong on your tracing paper, or for some reason you can't use your tracing paper right, then you can figure out where the coordinates are and then use your tracing paper with the method I've shown you to locate your new point so that you don't go wrong. So this is the graph we drew today. Okay, and then I'll go through this with you tomorrow. Okay, so thank you so much for watching today's video, and I'll see you in the next